So you might have heard that cash-based physical therapists might make 150, 200, $250 an hour, and that's what we're charging per session. Or you might be coming into this video wondering what should I even be charging? And so I wanted to make this to break things down to share with you how much do we actually make per hour and is it better than in the clinic? Spoiler alert, yeah, it definitely can be. 100%. That's part of the reason I'm in it. But before we get into all of that, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Morgan. I'm a physical therapist and a business coach for healthcare providers and PTs just like you who are wanting to start and grow your own cash-based solo practice, replace your full-time clinic job income, and live a life full of freedom and flexibility, just really enjoying what it is that you do. So if that is of any interest to you, if that is part of the dream that you have for yourself, and you are looking for help with how to do this, please reach out to us. Feel free to schedule a call with myself or one of our DPT to CEO team members. And we are accepting applications to the DPT to CEO coaching program if that might be of interest to you. So you can find all of the links down below. By the end of this video, you are going to know how to calculate your real per hour income as a cash-based physical therapist to see what you think and see how it compares to what you might be making now. And you'll also understand why cash PT, even despite the hourly rate, can offer a lot more freedom and control over the long term and even potentially more predictability than a regular job. So let's get started with revenue versus real income. So if you're totally new to this, that's totally fine. But a lot of therapists, when they get into this, I kind of see both things. Either they think that all of the cash that you collect, you can take all of that home, or they are too scared to touch any of the money that they've made in their business and they leave all of it in the business. So just know that there is a difference between the cash you collect and what you take home, but it's also totally okay and safe to take money out of the business to pay yourself. I advise all of my clients, as soon as you start making money, you should pay yourself the following month, even if it's $10, just to get into the habit and the process of paying yourself and sending out the energy into the universe that this is a business opportunity that you want to make money with. So we are going to talk about figuring out revenue versus real income. So we start with our gross revenue. So that's all the cash that we collected in the day, in the week, in the month, in the practice. And then we can estimate the total hours worked. So that might include our client time, our admin time. So maybe about 6 to 7 hours total in a day. And that brings us to if you were to see 4 clients at $150 a session, $600 for the day or $100 an hour, which for a lot of people working in the clinic, especially outpatient clinics, making anywhere between $30 to $45 an hour, at least at the time of this recording, that's going to sound like a huge difference. And while it is, I do want to remind you that we also are going to have business expenses. So just because that kind of goes back to what I said before, just because you make $600 in a day doesn't mean you take home $600. You have to account for your business expenses. So if your business expenses are, say, $2,000 in a month, and you work 80 hours in the month, it's roughly $25 an hour in expenses. So then we subtract $25 per hour from the 100, and now we're at roughly a $75 an hour take home before taxes. And so taxes, I think, is a topic for another video. And please leave a comment if you want more information on that. Not that I'm a tax professional, but I can share what I've done. And so that is how you can kind of take a look at the math to figure out what the actual per hour rate is for cash PT. I think this is a good place to start start the discussion behind just money and finances in general. However, I do want to just put a little piece in the back of your mind that eventually most business owners want to get away from trading time for money. And there are lots of different ways to do that. So just a disclaimer here, we're figuring this out on a very like basic level that I think is helpful just to get a good understanding. And then later on, you can kind of scale things a little bit and take a look at how to bring in more money without trading your time. And a good rule of thumb, I think, just to kind of give you like an estimate as you're like doing math yourself and everything, is whatever you charge per session, a conservative estimate is you're going to be able to take home half of it. I mentioned $2,000 a month in expenses. That's not definitely how much expenses you're going to have per month. I think that might even be like a little bit high for like the very beginner practice. And the highest expense you are going to have is rent. So like the lower your rent is, the lower your monthly expenses are going to be. And here's a bonus tip. So this goes back to videos that I've done in the past about how to figure out what to charge per session. But please remember, because I've made this mistake before, that whatever you decide to charge per session, that needs to be like the minimum. You're going to figure out based on your financial goals and the amount of appointments you can take what your session rate needs to be, and that's going to be your minimum. And I say that because a common way of selling therapy services is through the use of packages where you sell, say, like 6 sessions at a time for a paid in full rate. And then what's typical is that you offer some kind of per session discount in that. So if like your single session is $150 per session, but if they buy 6 sessions up front, you'll only charge them like $140 per session times 6 for a total amount. You want to make sure that like whatever your package rate is like your minimum price per session that you can charge. So if you do the math and 150 is like the lowest you can charge in order to reach your financial goals, your biggest package needs to be 150 a session. I'm sure that there's like some fancy math that you could figure out to charge maybe like 145.86 cents in order for it to still meet your financial goals. But I've just found it to be so much easier and like less stressful to know that when I'm selling a package of 6 sessions at 150 a session, I know that I'm going to be meeting my minimum income requirements. And so maybe it would be like 10 sessions at 150, 6 sessions at 165. The per session rate is maybe 180, and then evals are 200. So then all of your sessions are always above your minimum so that like the discounts are not cutting into the profitability and the amount of money that you're bringing home. So the other thing that I want to mention too is that you're not just going to be working with clients. There is a lot of other stuff that needs to happen to run the business, surprise. And so a rule of thumb here is that I typically suggest for every client you see, you're probably going to have at least 1 hour of non-client facing time. And that typically includes admin stuff, marketing, sales, finances, communications, cleaning up your clinic, things like that. So when you go to estimate like how many sessions you have available per week, just know that if you want to see 25 clients a week, you're probably going to have 20 to 25 hours a week of non-client facing work to do. And if that's okay with you, totally fine. However, I just don't want you to pick your pricing and everything based on like 40 to 50 clients in a week. I wouldn't suggest it. Most people are not getting into this to work more than they do in their regular job. I mean, you can if you want to, but not my biggest suggestion. And so as we're figuring out the money stuff here, right? Like I want you to take into account to all of the not like directly tied to money components that there are when it comes to running your own practice. So in a traditional clinic job, you might be making $40 an hour, sometimes less, seeing anywhere between like 15 to 30 patients a day. I know I had no energy by the end of the day at the clinic, no control over your schedule. You have to document after hours. The risk for burnout is high, and it's hard to find like other ways to like make money on the side or just like live your life, like develop hobbies, personal development, just because it takes so much of your energy away. And when you run your own practice, like you are most likely going to be making, when it's all said and done, you're going to be making more money per hour working for yourself than you would in a clinic. My second year in practice, our gross revenue was well above what my salary was in the clinic. You only have to see maybe 4 to 6 clients a day, which I know I really like for, like, just the energy that I have to interact with people. That's helpful instead of 25 or more. You know, the flexibility to take breaks. You can do PTO whenever you want because you're in charge of that. You can choose your own schedule, your own hours, and you just have so much more control and autonomy over your life. And I want to point this out because I think that that is value that's not a direct dollar sign, but does lead to a much higher quality of life. And so, last thing here, as we're getting into our wrap up, is we want to remember and think about our profit per hour is what is going to matter the most. We love gross revenue. We love seeing like the big numbers, but the profit per hour is what is going to help us get stability and choice. And so that involves, right, like figuring out how much you need to be charging per session to meet your goals, what your expenses are, what your take home is going to be in order to like plan out, plot things out, and then you work backwards to figure out how many clients you need. So if that is something that you feel like you might need help with at this point in time, figuring out all the numbers, all of the money, and setting yourself up for success as a cash-based practice owner, we would love to talk to you. We would love to help you if you are looking for structure, you want to feel really confident with sales and marketing, want to work for yourself and get rid of the insurance-based model, just work directly with your clients and treat them the way that they deserve to be treated. We'd love to help you out and help you grow your business. So I'd love to invite you to apply to our DPT to CEO program. Find the links down below. And please let me know if you have any questions on this, and we'll go from there. Oh, and by the way, if you do want help pricing your sessions, we'll leave a link down below to check out our calculator video to help you figure out the exact price that you need in order to reach your goals. So with that, short and simple today, but if you have questions, leave them down below and I'll see you on the next one.